Hello again, and welcome to Broadcasting Scotland. It's Monday the 15th of August. I'm Andrew Wilson, and this is Scotland at 7. This evening, I have the latest daily update from Ukraine on day 173 of the illegal Russian war of aggression, and then I will look at today's headlines from Scotland and around the world. Ukrainian forces reported heavy Russian shelling and attempts to advance on several towns in the eastern Donetsk Oblast, which has become a key focus of the near 6-month war, but said they had repelled many of the attacks. Ukraine's military command said on Sunday that Russian soldiers had continued unsuccessfully to attack Ukrainian positions near Avdiivka, which since 2014 has become one of the outposts of the Ukrainian forces near Donetsk. Russia is probably in the advanced planning stages to hold a referendum for the so-called Donetsk People's Republic to join Russia, according to UK intelligence. Mykolaiv has come under sustained overnight fire from Russian forces, according to Vitaly Kim, the governor of Mykolaiv. Russia's President Vladimir Putin has said that Russia and North Korea will expand bilateral relations, Pyongyang's state media reported today. The MV Brave Commander, the first UN ship to carry Ukrainian grain for Africa, is ready to depart with 23,000 tons of wheat. A total of 42 countries have called on Russia to immediately withdraw military forces from the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant, including the US, Japan, and the UK, plus the EU. The International Atomic Energy Agency has warned of a possible nuclear disaster unless the fighting stops. Ukraine's forces continued to strike at strategic bridges supplying Russian troops holding the city of Kherson, the only major site held by the invaders on the western bank of the Dnieper. Russia says it has taken control of Udi, a village in the eastern Kharkiv region, according to its latest military briefing. The village has been under heavy shelling by Russian forces. And countries throughout Europe have called for the EU to limit or block short-term Schengen visas for Russian citizens. Ukraine, Estonia, Latvia, Finland and the Czech Republic all urge new restrictions. Poland is also considering restrictions for Russian tourist visas. Boris Johnson should intervene urgently to start insulating homes and introduce fiscal policies to reduce bills, as further delay will mean more people face extreme suffering this winter as energy bills soar, a former government chief scientific advisor has warned. David King said, "This could be the worst possible time for the leadership of this country to be simply sitting back. We're waiting until what? We have an energy crisis right now and we need good leadership. We need alert leadership, leadership that is thinking about this, and that is missing." Mr. Johnson, who has vowed to take no major decisions in his remaining time in office, attended a meeting of energy companies last week that had no conclusive outcome, and is now on his second holiday since resigning last month. Speaking to The Guardian, Mr. King said, "He is the Prime Minister. He wanted to stay on, so he must deliver as Prime Minister. There is no one else who can do that." He called for higher taxes on energy companies, which he said were riding soaring energy prices since the Ukraine invasion for a bonanza, rather than investing or becoming more efficient. They are taking bigger and bigger profits as the prices are so high. That can only mean that they are tying their profits to the price, not to the volume that they are delivering, he said. Mr. King, a former government chief scientist and UK climate envoy from 2000 to 2007, and the government's special representative on climate from 2013 to 2017, he was an advisor to prime ministers and foreign secretaries, including Johnson, and he said valuable time has been wasted while the government failed to act. Waiting several more weeks for a new Conservative leader will take the reins of government would only add to the problem, he said. There will be extreme suffering at the lower paid end of our society, King warned. We need fiscal policies that help people in the lower paid bracket that manage the costs of energy. He said home insulation must also be a priority. Insulating homes is a massive benefit to individuals and the country at large. Home insulation programmes have always been on the back burner for government for such a long time, though the benefits are enormous. Even starting now would help people across the country with bills, he said, adding, "It's never too late. If you start now, we could see good progress before winter." The Climate Crisis Advisory Group, an international coalition of scientists chaired by King, will publish a report this week arguing that governments do not need to return to fossil fuels in response to rising gas prices and energy shortages. International cooperation, expanding investment in renewable energy, as well as pursuing energy efficiency through home insulation and in industries, would be enough to limit the energy crisis, the report says. Interest rate rises should also be avoided, as that would risk a damaging recession. The SNP has said that the UK government must stop stalling on the cost of living crisis and immediately recall Parliament to introduce an emergency budget. With all of the opposition parties united on calls for the energy price cap to be frozen, Alison Thewlis MP said the Prime Minister and Chancellor must get off their backsides and start doing the job they are elected and paid to do, calling for an emergency package to freeze the energy price cap, scrap VAT on fuel, and double financial support to households. The SNP Shadow Chancellor Alison Thewlis said, "The Tory government's failure and inaction has allowed the cost of living crisis to spiral out of control. They must stop stalling, recall Parliament and introduce an emergency budget now." Millions of families are seeing their incomes slashed by rising energy bills and Brexit price rises. Many are struggling to pay their bills and are falling into debt. Families cannot afford to wait for weeks or months while the UK government passes the buck to the next Tory leader. The Prime Minister and Chancellor must get off their backsides, she continued, and start doing the job they are elected and paid to do. There must be an emergency package introduced now to freeze the energy price cap, scrap VAT on fuel, and at least double the financial support available to households. Downing Street has admitted that Boris Johnson will not be working on his holiday unless he is needed urgently, after he faced criticism for taking a second break abroad within 3 weeks amid the energy crisis. Johnson is believed to be in Greece with his family, despite having just 3 weeks left in the job amid accusations that he is leading a zombie government. In his absence, 2 large removal lorries turned up in Downing Street today, fueling expectations that he is likely to spend little further time in Number 10. The Prime Minister is entitled to take furniture and fittings that he paid for in his refurbishment of his Number 11 flat, theoretically including the Lulu Little Gold wallpaper that was initially funded by a Tory donor. While Johnson's caretaker role during the period when his successor is being chosen limits his scope for making new policy, he has been accused of heading a zombie government and of spending his final few weeks in office relaxing. When not overseas, Johnson has spent time at Chequers, the prime ministerial country retreat, and he and his wife hosted a belated party for their wedding at the 1,500-acre Cotswold estate Daylesford, that is the home of the JCB owner Anthony Bamford, a major Conservative donor. As much as £60 million worth of food has been wasted on farms because of a labour shortage, according to the National Farmers Union, which found at least £22 million of fruit and vegetables has been wasted so far this year. The NFU said 40% of respondents to a survey of its members said they had suffered crop losses as a result of labour shortages, with farms 14% short of the size of the workforce they needed on average. The problems were worsened by some staff not turning up for work or quitting early. As its survey represents only about a third of the UK's horticulture sector, the NFU said as much as £60 million worth of food could have been wasted. Tom Bradshaw, the union's deputy president, said it's nothing short of a travesty that quality, nutritious food is being wasted at a time when families across the country are already struggling to make ends meet because of soaring living costs. More than half of those questioned, 56%, said production had fallen by almost a fifth on average, partly as a result of the worker shortages. Growers expect a further decrease in production of 4.4% in 2023. Farmers have been struggling to find enough workers to pick crops amid high employment levels in the UK. Alternative work, including in warehouses and delivery, often offers higher pay and more job security. The struggle to find workers has led to pay increases and problems for businesses in hospitality, logistics, and food production. Brexit has reduced access to temporary workers coming in from the EU, while the war in Ukraine has disrupted flow from a country that has provided a large proportion of the UK's harvest workers in recent years. Up to 38,000 visas have been made available under this year's Seasonal Worker Scheme, which offers short-term visas to those helping with food production. However, the farming industry says it needs 70,000 visas alone. The number of EU citizens moving to the UK has plunged since Brexit closed the doors to low-paid workers, according to a report. The dramatic decline in migration from the EU has hit hospitality and support services hard. But the Migration Observatory at the University of Oxford and Rewage, a group of independent experts, have said that while Brexit exacerbated chronic labour shortages in the UK, it was not the only cause. Data shows that just 43,000 EU citizens received visas for work, family, study, or other purposes in 2021, a fraction of the 230,000 to 430,000 EU citizens coming to the UK each year in the 6 years to March 2020, according to the Office for National Statistics estimates. Of those who migrated, as opposed to travelling for business or pleasure to the UK in 2021, EU citizens accounted for only 5% of the number of visas issued. The figures available so far are therefore consistent with the possibility of a large decline in EU immigration, says the report, titled The End of Free Movement and the Low-Wage Labour Force in the UK. The report found hospitality and lower-skilled sectors were worst hit by the end of free movement of EU citizens into the UK. Hospitality lost 98,000 EU citizens and jobs in the 2 years to June 2021, and support services such as cleaning and maintenance were down 64,000 EU workers. 2 RAF flights carrying as many as 500 Afghans who worked with UK forces and their relatives are landing in the UK each month from Pakistan, but there is deep frustration within the Ministry of Defence about how the rest of government is struggling to accommodate the arrivals. It comes as the Taliban and Western allies mark the first anniversary of NATO's withdrawal from Afghanistan. General Sir John McCall, who served in Afghanistan as the first head of NATO's International Security Assistance Force, ISAF, in Afghanistan, told BBC Radio 4's World at One that the Defence Secretary Ben Wallace and other ministers should hang their heads in shame. The UK's original evacuation of Afghans was random, and at times dogs had been prioritised over people, he said, adding, "The system was broken when we withdrew from Kabul last year, and it remains broken. It was a source of shame then, and it continues to be a source of shame." About 6,200 people, including some 1,200 principals who worked for the UK, and typically 4 to 5 members of their families, are currently understood to be eligible for relocation under the Afghan Relocations and Assistance Policy, ARAP, one of 2 government programmes. The figure includes some who are still in Afghanistan and others who have made it out, more often than not to Pakistan, although Afghans have also attempted to cross the border into Iran, where the strained relationship between the UK and the regime in Tehran complicates the ability to help people. The ARAP stream has brought more than 10,100 eligible Afghans to the UK, while another, the Afghan Citizen Settlement Scheme, will allow up to 20,000 to settle in the UK. However, there has been strong criticism that the UK has effectively abandoned many Afghans to persecution and execution under the Taliban for the crime of having worked with UK forces and officials. In a parliamentary briefing earlier this month, 9 expert groups on Afghanistan criticised the UK government's resettlement schemes as unjustifiably restrictive. They said it was deeply concerning that the government was currently not offering a safe route for many Afghan women or girls or to oppressed minority groups. Sources at the MOD said today that about 1,050 people who were brought out of Afghanistan under ARAP were currently in hotels in Pakistan, awaiting processing and transportation to the UK or another destination. But there is frustration with other parts of government and beyond with the fact that many Afghans who are brought to the UK end up, as one highly placed source put it, stuck in hotels. The MOD sources accused other parts of Whitehall of struggling to know what to do and failing to put adequate plans in place. On the first anniversary of the fall of Kabul, the UK government is still providing hotel accommodation to 9,500 Afghans who sought refuge in the UK, with only 7,000 having been rehoused. A vaccine designed to target two forms of COVID will be offered as part of the autumn booster programme after the jab was approved by the UK's regulator. Manufactured by the US firm Moderna, the vaccine targets not only the original coronavirus, or as is the case for vaccines currently in use, but is designed specifically to target the Omicron variant BA1, which fueled a wave of COVID in the UK last winter. The UK is the first country to approve the bivalent vaccine known as the Spikevax bivalent original Omicron, giving the green light for its use as a booster for people over the age of 18. The UK's Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunisation, the JCVI, said the vaccine would be used in the planned autumn booster programme. This is expected to begin in September, ahead of what could be a difficult period, with an expected surge in respiratory diseases, including COVID and flu. Dr. June Rain, the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency Chief Executive, said clinical trials had shown the bivalent vaccine provided a strong immune response against Omicron BA1 variant, as well as the original 2020 strain. The autumn booster programme is focused on protecting those at increased risk from COVID, including people over the age of 50 and residents in care homes for older adults, with about 26 million people expected to be eligible for the JAG. The Guardian understands the approach as an effort to move away from an emergency response to COVID in favour of a more targeted stance. The JCVI said it was preferable for a single type of booster vaccine to be used in the booster programme. According to the Department of Health and Social Care, this will be the bivalent JAG Moderna. Should there be shortages of the new jab, those at highest risk from COVID will be prioritised for vaccination. However, the JCVI said existing booster jabs from Pfizer-BioNTech and Moderna will also be available, as will the Novavax jab. The latter is based on more traditional vaccine technology and can be given to people who cannot have the other booster jabs, for example, because of allergies. In Nairobi today, Kenya's elections chief declared Deputy President William Ruto the winner of a tight presidential race, but some senior election officials disowned the result, fueling fears of violence like that seen after the previous disputed polls. Hailing the Electoral Commission as heroes, Mr. Ruto said, "There is no looking back. We are looking to the future. We need all hands on deck to move forward." The 55-year-old had made Kenya's class divisions the centrepiece of his campaign to become Kenya's fifth president, promising to reward low-income hustlers and pouring scorn on Kenya's political dynasties. That was a barely veiled jab at his opponent, Raila Odinga, and President Uhuru Kenyatta, son of the nation's first vice president and president respectively. President-elect Ruto, who heads the Kenya Kwanza, Kenya First Alliance, had appeared to be leading long-time opposition leader Odinga as Kenyans awaited final results of the election held nearly a week ago. Minutes before the chairman of the Electoral Commission, Wafula Chebukati, announced that Mr. Ruto had won the vote, his deputy, Juliana Cherera, had told media at a separate location that she and 3 other commissioners disowned the results. "We are not able to take ownership of the results that will be announced because of the opaque nature of this last phase of the general election," she said. The Electoral Commission has 7 commissioners. Diplomats and international observers were whisked out of the tallying hall before Chebukati spoke, as scuffles broke out. Before announcing Ruto as the winner, Chebukati said two commissioners and the Electoral Commission's chief executive had been injured and were being treated. Chebukati said that Ruto had won 50.49% of the vote against Odinga's 48.5%. The winning candidate must get 50% of the votes plus one. Odinga did not attend the announcement. Amid fears of vote-rigging allegations could lead to bloody scenes like those that followed presidential polls in 2007 and 2017, Cherera urged the parties to pursue any disputes through the courts. The Electoral Commission has introduced many checks and balances to try to prevent disputes like those that led to violence, in which more than 1,200 people were killed following the 2007 election. In 2017, more than 100 people were killed after the Supreme Court quashed the initial result over irregularities in the electoral process. The Sarajevo Film Festival, the largest film industry showcase in the Western Balkans, is providing a showcase for Ukrainian films in its competition and providing support to Ukrainian filmmakers. The Sarajevo Film Festival was founded in 1995 during the war in Bosnia as an act of resistance to the 43-month siege of Sarajevo by Bosnian Serb forces. The festival director, Jovan Marjanovic, told reporters at the onset of the war in Ukraine, it has become clear that something must be done in solidarity with colleagues from the film industry in Ukraine. The festival, which opened Friday, features films from Ukraine in the competition programme and is providing artist-in-residence slots to Ukrainian filmmakers to enable them to work and further develop their films. The Sarajevo Film Festival has also offered jobs to Ukrainian refugees, film industry professionals who previously worked at film festivals in Kyiv and Odessa. Scriptwriters and filmmakers Marisia Nikitiuk and Maria Stoyanova arrived in Sarajevo several months ago to develop their projects and present them at the industry platform Cinelink, which brings together writers and producers alongside the film screenings. The Russian invasion of Ukraine halted Stoyanova's work on her debut feature as funding was frozen. The editing director joined the army, and the producers got involved in volunteering and filming the war. Nikitiuk hopes to find partners and co-producers for her script, dealing with people with post-traumatic stress disorder, inspired by displaced women and children she encountered in a shelter in a Ukrainian village where she had hidden at the start of the war. On Friday, the festival honoured the Ukrainian filmmaker Sergei Loznitsa with the Heart of Sarajevo Award. Triangle of Sadness by Swedish director Ruben Östlund will open the festival. Ruben Östlund will be honoured for his film, which won this year's Palme d'Or for Best Picture at Cannes. The festival, which will show 235 films from 62 countries, 51 of them in competition, will also celebrate the Danish actor Mads Mikkelsen and the US Oscar-nominated actor and director Jesse Eisenberg. Scotland has become the first country in the world to protect in law the right to access free period products. From today, councils and education providers will be legally required to make period products available free of charge to anyone who needs them when the Period Products Free Provision Scotland Act comes into force. Since 2017, the Scottish Government has invested more than £27 million to fund access in a range of public settings, and the new law will cement this progress. Scotland's approach to delivering period dignity has been commended globally, with countries including South Korea and New Zealand taking a similar approach to meet their own needs. Our Social Justice Secretary, Shona Robertson MSP, said, providing access to free period products is fundamental to equality and dignity and removes the financial barriers to accessing them. This is more important than ever at a time when people are making difficult choices due to the cost of living crisis, and we never want anyone to be in a position where they cannot access period products. Since 2018, we have delivered groundbreaking action by providing free period products for pupils and students in all our schools, colleges and universities. We are proud to be the first national government in the world to take such action. And that is all that we have for you this evening. In making these programmes, Broadcasting Scotland relies on the support of viewers and others who value our distinctive approach to news, current affairs and culture. Please help us to continue to make these programmes, to continue to develop the station, and to make new programmes for you. If you would like to support us, then please consider subscribing or donating to Broadcasting Scotland. You will find the link to do that on the screen now. You will see that our appeals for assistance have not gone away and remain urgent now, because the need for financial support during the cost of living crisis is increasing every day. There are other ways in which you can contribute to our work. If you would like to volunteer to work with Broadcasting Scotland, either behind the scenes or in front of the cameras, or in any other way that helps our work and promotes the station, then please visit our website at www.broadcastingscotland.scot and send us a message there. You can find us on Twitter at BroadcastScot. Please like and retweet us there. And you can also find us on Facebook by searching for Broadcasting Scotland. When you're watching us on YouTube, it would be great if you would like and subscribe to Broadcasting Scotland on that platform. Meantime, we will be here again tomorrow with the next edition of Scotland at 7. Please tune in and join us again then. Today in 1771 saw the birth in Edinburgh of Sir Walter Scott, the world's first international literary superstar. And also today in 1856, it was the birth of Keir Hardie, who would rise from humble origins to become one of Britain's most well-regarded politicians and the first leader of the Labour Party. I wonder how fast Keir Hardie is burrowing in his grave now. Please have a very peaceful evening. Bye-bye.